There comes a moment in every man's life when he must ask himself a simple question. Am I truly living or merely existing? Look around you. The world is filled with people waiting for luck, for signs, for someone to give them permission to begin. But destiny does not wait. It does not pause for the indecisive or the hesitant. Destiny is claimed, not inherited. It is built, not found. And those who rise to meet it do not wait for the perfect moment, they create it. You were not born to be a follower of other men's plans. You were not designed to drift, to obey, to shrink. You were born with a mind, a will, and the power to choose. That is your divine gift, and it is also your greatest responsibility. You can live a life by design or by default, but you cannot do both. This message is not for the weak-hearted. It is not for the man who is content with mediocrity or the one who hides behind excuses. This is for those who feel something stirring deep within them, a whisper that says, there's more for you. You were made for more. So I ask you now, are you ready to take back the pen and write your own story? Are you ready to stop blaming and start building? Because your destiny is not in the hands of fate, it's in your hands. And the time to master it is not tomorrow, it's not one day. The time is now. Every man who has ever shaped history, transformed his life, or risen from the dust of defeat to the summit of triumph, had one thing in common, a definite purpose. Not a vague wish, not a fleeting desire, but a clear, burning, unshakable aim. Without this definiteness of purpose, the human mind wanders like a ship without a rudder, tossed by the winds of circumstance, distraction, and look around you. How many people are busy, moving, hustling, yet going nowhere? Their days are filled with motion, but empty of meaning. Why? Because they have never stopped long enough to answer the one question that would change everything. What am I here to do? That question is not poetic. It is practical. It is the key to unlocking your power. It is the compass by which you steer your destiny. A man with purpose becomes immune to noise. He does not flinch when criticized, nor does he waver when praised. His eyes are fixed on his destination. He chooses his actions based on alignment, not approval. And because of this, his steps are not wasted. His energy is not scattered. His life becomes focused, and in that focus lies power. The average man makes decisions based on convenience. The uncommon man makes them based on purpose. And that single shift changes the entire outcome of his life. Purpose gives suffering a meaning. It gives effort a direction. It gives life a structure, a reason, a backbone. Without it, days blur, years vanish, and regret takes root. But with it, each day becomes a brick laid with intention on the path to something greater. Now understand this clearly. Purpose is not something you stumble upon in the dark. It is something you decide. It is a choice. It may be uncovered through silence, reflection, and struggle, but ultimately it is claimed. And once claimed, it must be guarded fiercely, because the world will try to pull you away from it. Family, friends, failure, fear, they will all try to redirect your course, but only you can decide whether they succeed. There is no power in a wandering mind. There is only reaction, only survival. But when the mind is given a target, it becomes a weapon. Ideas begin to gather, courage rises, resources appear. Why? Because clarity activates your spirit. It aligns your thoughts, your speech, your behavior. It cuts through the fog of doubt and says, this is who I am. This is what I will build. This is where I'm going. And from that declaration, the universe begins to shift. Now, some will say, but what if I choose the wrong purpose? To that I say, a man with a purpose, even if imperfect, will always travel farther than a man with none. You can adjust the path, you can evolve the mission, but you cannot steer a parked car. Purpose is movement. Movement is life. You were not born to live on accident. You were born with intention, and you must live with intention. Set your aim. Write it in ink. Read it every morning and speak it with conviction. Then act. Act like the world was built to see that purpose fulfilled, because in many ways it was. All of life conspires in favor of the man who refuses to drift. Definiteness of purpose is not just the starting point of success. It is the foundation of freedom, because until you choose your direction, someone else will choose it for you. But once you do, you become unstoppable, not because you are the strongest or the smartest, but because you know where you're going. Every day you delay the pursuit of your true path. You surrender control to forces outside of you. Life does not wait. It does not pause until you're ready. And if you are not ruled by a clear vision, then you will be ruled by circumstance, emotion, or the demands of others. Vision is not just a lofty idea, it is your lifeline to power, direction, and personal authority. Without it, you are a pawn. With it, you become the master. There is no such thing as a neutral life. You are either moving intentionally towards something you have chosen, or you are being moved unknowingly towards something someone else has chosen for you. The man without a vision is like a leaf in the wind, blown by every opinion, every trend, every crisis. He waits, he reacts, he hopes. But hope is not a strategy. Vision is. Vision allows you to anticipate, not just react. It gives you the ability to choose your battles instead of being dragged into every one. It sharpens your focus so that distractions become irrelevant. When you see clearly where you're going, the noise of the world begins to quiet. The opinions of others lose their grip. The confusion fades. You stop living by accident and start living by design. Most people suffer not from a lack of talent, but from a lack of clarity. They wake up each day hoping it will go well, hoping life will give them a break, hoping they feel motivated, but motivation follows vision. A man with a purpose doesn't need constant motivation. His clarity is his fuel. He knows why he wakes up. He knows what matters. And because of that, he becomes dangerous to the forces that want him small, passive, and uncertain. The tragedy is this. Most people never take the time to define their vision, and so life defines it for them. Society gives them a script. Parents, teachers, media, and peers tell them what success should look like, what to want, what to fear. And unless a man stops and questions it all, he becomes a slave to a life he didn't choose. But vision is a rebellion against unconscious living. It is a statement to the universe. I refuse to be moved unless I move myself. It is the highest form of self-respect. It is the refusal to be manipulated by trends, trauma, or temporary feelings. Vision demands strength because it requires saying no to 1,000 lesser things in order to say yes to one great thing. And here's the truth. If you don't have a vision, you will chase the next shiny object. You will get pulled into petty arguments, meaningless goals, shallow pleasures. You will confuse activity with progress. And one day you'll wake up wondering where your time went, why you're exhausted, and why nothing you built feels like it belongs to you. But if you have a vision, one that grips your soul, you will endure storms that would crush others. You will ignore critics that paralyze the masses. You will delay gratification, outlast opposition, and push through boredom, because the fire inside you burns hotter than the resistance around you. A man with vision is not perfect. He stumbles, he doubts, he bleeds, but he always gets back up because the picture in his mind is more powerful than the pain in his body. That picture becomes his compass. That vision becomes his identity, and that identity becomes unshakable. So you must ask yourself, are you driven by your own vision, or are you a victim to circumstance? That question, answered honestly, will determine your destiny. You cannot master your life until you master your direction, and you cannot master your direction until you dare to see something greater and commit your life to it. Vision isn't optional. It is survival for the soul, and the time to claim it is now. Thought is the foundation, but action is the builder. You can dream endlessly, visualize perfectly, and affirm daily, but if you do not act, nothing changes. The world does not reward intentions. It rewards results, and results are born only from deliberate, consistent action. A man may possess a mind filled with golden ideas, but if he never converts those ideas into labor, he will die with potential unfulfilled and destiny unrealized. Destiny is not waiting to be discovered, it is waiting to be constructed. And action is the only tool that builds it. Many will argue that thought is everything, but thought without action is fantasy. It is a soft comfort that soothes the ego but deceives the soul. You can imagine success for a lifetime and still live in failure if you never move your feet. Dreams require legs, and those legs must walk through discomfort, fatigue, rejection, and uncertainty. That is why most men never rise. They are not willing to convert vision into work. They mistake inspiration for transformation, forgetting that every mountain must be climbed step by step. True power lies in the ability to act when it's hard, to persist when the emotions fade, and to build when motivation is absent. The man who disciplines his body to follow the commands of his higher mind becomes unstoppable. While others wait for the perfect moment, he creates it. While others are trapped in planning, he is executing. And while others drown in doubt, he moves with quiet resolve, knowing that motion breeds clarity and results. Ideas are seeds, but without action, they rot. Action waters the seed, pushes through the soil, breaks the resistance, and brings forth life. One act of courage, one disciplined decision, one uncomfortable move can begin the process of transformation. But it is never comfortable. That is why action is the filter. Many think, few act. The gap between knowledge and change is behavior. And behavior is where destiny is forged. It is not enough to know what to do. You must do it. And you must do it. And you must do it again. Repetition is the mother of mastery, and action repeated becomes identity. When you act boldly, repeatedly, in alignment with your vision, you don't just build a result, you build a self. You become the kind of man who acts, who moves, who commands his day rather than being dragged through it. The world will not wait for you to feel ready. Conditions will never be perfect. The door will not always open. You may have to break it down. But if your action is fueled by clarity, backed by belief, and executed with discipline, mountains begin to move. And what once seemed impossible becomes inevitable. No man becomes great by thinking alone. He becomes great by thinking with precision and acting with purpose. There is no shortcut. There is no magic. There is only the grind of action aligned with a powerful idea. That is the bridge between your current reality and your highest future. And no one can walk it for you. You must wake up each day and declare, not with words, but with behavior, this is who I am. This is what I'm building. And nothing will stop me. Because the man who acts consistently, courageously, and with vision eventually becomes what he builds. His destiny is not something he chases. It becomes the inevitable result of every bold step he takes. Adversity is the tool life uses to test the depth of your desire. It is not the enemy of greatness. It is the furnace in which greatness is forged. No man has ever achieved anything of lasting value without first passing through difficulty, resistance, and pain. It is through adversity that we are introduced to ourselves, to our limits, and most importantly, to our untapped strength. The man who complains about hardship does not yet understand its purpose. But the man who embraces it begins to see obstacles not as punishment, but as preparation. There is a common illusion that success comes to those who are fortunate or favored, but the truth is far less glamorous. The men who rise to mastery are those who endure more than others are willing to. They are those who stand when it would be easier to fall. They are those who look at failure not as defeat, but as instruction. Every setback contains a lesson. Every trial offers a chance to deepen resolve. The path to destiny is paved not in ease, but in endurance. When adversity comes, and it will, it strips away the uncommitted. It reveals who is serious and who is only pretending. It exposes those who are merely interested from those who are truly invested. And this is why adversity is a gift, because once you pass through it, you emerge not only stronger, but clearer. You begin to see what matters. You begin to understand the value of struggle and the wisdom it brings. Growth does not occur in comfort. It occurs in friction. Muscles are built by tension. Steel is hardened by fire. The same is true for the human spirit. Without adversity, you become soft. Without challenge, your potential remains dormant. But when you are forced to dig deep, to fight through confusion, fatigue, fear, and loss, you uncover reservoirs of strength that you never knew you had. That strength is not given, it is earned. There will be moments when you are brought to your knees. Moments when it feels like everything you've built is falling apart. Moments when the future seems dim and every step feels heavy. But these moments are not the end. They are the proving ground. The man who can keep moving forward when everything in him wants to stop, that is the man who will rise. That is the man who will build a life others only dream of. Most people retreat at the first sign of adversity. They shrink back into safety, into comfort, into old habits. And in doing so, they forfeit their destiny. But the few who lean into the storm, who walk through the fire, who stare down difficulty with unblinking eyes, those are the ones who grow. Those are the ones who rise. Because destiny does not bow to the faint of heart. It yields only to those who refuse to quit. If you want to master your destiny, you must reframe how you see adversity. Stop asking why it's happening to you. Start asking what it's trying to build in you. Stop praying for ease and start praying for strength. Because it is not a smooth road that creates a strong man. It is the rough terrain, the steep climb, the long, lonely nights. Adversity is not the end of your story. It is the beginning of your rise. Every time you survive what was meant to break you, you become more than you were. You earn confidence. You gain courage. You develop character. And with each battle fought and won, you move one step closer to the man you were always meant to be. Before any man can master his destiny, he must first master himself. The greatest battles you will ever face are not out in the world. They are within your own mind, your own habits, your own impulses. No amount of strategy, no amount of opportunity, no stroke of luck can replace self-mastery. It is the cornerstone of all lasting achievement. A man who cannot rule himself will always be ruled by something else: emotion, temptation, fear, or external influence. Self-mastery is the gate through which all power must. Your destiny is not determined by what you want. It is shaped by what you are willing to do consistently. And consistency is impossible without discipline. Discipline is not about perfection. It is about choosing what must be done over what feels good in the moment. It is waking up early when your body wants to sleep. It is doing the hard work when no one is watching. It is saying no to temporary pleasure for the sake of permanent progress. This is not easy, but it is necessary, because the man who cannot say no to himself will eventually say yes to a life of mediocrity. Emotional control is another pillar of self-mastery. The world will press every button you have. It will provoke, insult, and frustrate you. But how you respond will determine the quality of your journey. A man who reacts to every slight, every setback, every inconvenience is a slave to his emotions. But the man who pauses, breathes, and chooses his response is powerful. He governs his mind like a king governs a kingdom. He does not let temporary emotions destroy permanent opportunities. To master yourself, you must also master your beliefs. Most people are prisoners of old programming, things they were told as children, wounds they never healed, lies they began to believe about themselves. But those who rise in life are those who challenge every belief that limits them. They question their doubts, they test their fears, and they replace every weak thought with a strong one, every excuse with ownership. Because you cannot build a powerful life with a powerless mind. Self-belief is not arrogance, it is recognition. It is seeing the power within you and choosing to act on it, even when the world tells you to sit down and be quiet. It is standing firm in your value, even when results haven't shown up yet. Belief is what carries you when results are not visible, when the crowd is silent, and when the voice in your head whispers, "You can't." A man who believes in himself becomes a force of nature, because belief fuels action, and action transforms reality. There will be days when you feel like giving up, days when nothing makes sense, days when you question if it's worth it. And those are the moments when self-mastery matters most. It is in the dark hours that your discipline, your mental control, your belief must carry you. These qualities are not just traits, they are tools. And you must sharpen them daily. Not once, not sometimes, but every day. Because the enemy never sleeps, and neither can your vigilance. When you master yourself, you become dangerous, not to others, but to the excuses, limitations, and fears that once controlled you. You become calm in chaos. You become stable in storms. You become a man who moves with purpose, who chooses his path, who builds his future with intention and grit. And that is the kind of man destiny favors, not the man who had it easy, but the man who refused to be ruled by anything weaker than his vision. Master yourself, and you will not need to chase destiny. Now you stand at the edge of a decision, not tomorrow, not someday. Now you have heard the call to rise, to claim your destiny, to seize control of your mind, your vision, your actions, your response to adversity, and above all, yourself. The world will continue to pull, distract, deceive, and delay. But the truth remains. You are not a victim. You are not powerless. You are the architect of your future, the commander of your fate. Destiny does not wait for the hesitant. It bows to the bold, the disciplined, the self-governed. Every man is offered a choice to live by design or by default. One leads to greatness, the other to regret. The road will not be smooth, but smooth roads never forged strong men. Only through clarity, consistency, courage, and inner mastery will you break through the limitations placed on you by others, or worse, by yourself. This is your call to action, not just to dream, but to act, not just to believe, but to become. The door to your destiny has always been unlocked, but only you can open it. Now is the time, not next year, not next week, now. Master yourself and you will master everything else.